Somebody liked rooftop rafting.
I like that.
Is that what it's, yeah.
Yeah, where you find a piece of metal and...
It's kind of long, but this is after I had moved to Michigan. There was a small pond by the elementary school. I was in junior high at the time, but my sisters were going there. And a friend of mine and I visited the pond and saw tadpoles turning into frogs and so on. And we found the top of a car there that had been sawed off, some 50s era car. And we pushed it into the water and used it as kind of an impromptu canoe. And so the boy discovered the car rooftop lying along the freshly oiled dirt road at the bend near the elementary school. It was red, cut cleanly above where the windows would have been. It was perfect for sailing, and so he shoved it into the pond nearby. With a crooked branch fallen from an elm behind the farmer's field, he pulled himself back and forth across the 20 feet of shallow pond. As he sailed the metal raft in quiet to the center of the pond and drifted to the almost no wind, the boy bent over the edge of the car top and noticed black squiggles in the muddy green water. 1,000 tadpoles struggling for life. He caught them in his hands and held their black wriggling, then released them back into the muddy swirls of water. Each day after school, for a summer, he'd sail the metal rooftop on the pond. When he arrived each day, the metal raft was moved from where he'd beached it on the night before. But he needed to believe that this was his to sail alone, his voyage alone, his knowledge of the arcane wisdom of pond navigating, his knowing of the black wriggling life there alone. And so he ignored the evidence. At the end of that summer, when tadpoles had turned floating white or frogged themselves to shore, he ended his pond sailing. Near the end of an August, when another summer had nearly burned itself out, he remembered the pond and the rooftop. The daily ritual of 3 years ago ached in him, demanding that he return to the pond and raft the metal across again. He pedaled his red 3-speed down the dry dust of the dirt road to the bend behind the elementary school. He laid the bike in the weeds, not far from the railroad tracks, and walked down the slope to the pond. The water was low. The mud along the banks was cracked and gray-white, like dead tadpoles, bleached along the shore where they had drowned in air. The rooftop lay dry-docked in mud, its red gone rusty, its smooth curve gone dented from hundreds of feet. The crooked stick was missing. Still, he shoved himself off, counting on the momentum to sail him across the diminished width of the pond. Immediately, brown water spurted through a dozen holes, punched cleanly in the metal by some other boy. The water fountained in, slowing the raft. It stopped near the center, sank. Brown mud scurried over the sides and into his shoes. The boy waded through the sucking mud, squirting swirls of red and brown behind him. The clear water of the pond clouded over. He barefoot rode his bicycle back home. Near the end of yet another summer, when high school had begun, the boy walked the long way home down the bend in the road behind the elementary school. The pond had dried to cracked clay in the drought. The rooftop was gone, taken by someone somewhere. And he remembered the tadpoles left behind that had turned to frogs in the river or gone gray-white in the still dust where the sun had transformed them.